Well, hello again, everyone. Welcome to the Sports Corner. I'm Regner. Time for another video blog for FoxSportsDetroit.com. Want to wish everybody a Happy New Year, since this is the first video blog of many for 2013. And today we're going to do a end-of-the-year wrap-up on the three major football teams in the state of Michigan. The University of Michigan's football team, Michigan State University's football team, and, of course, the professional team in town, the men who don the Honolulu blue and silver with black accents, the Detroit Lions. First, let's go to the college ranks, and let's talk about the Michigan State Spartans. Michigan State successful in their bowl game, the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl, by beating TCU by a point. Connor Cook came in, and perhaps he is the quarterback of the future. Mr. Maxwell was on the bench. I thought he handled it well. If you look at Michigan State, I think their future's bright, even though Deion Sims and Le'Veon Bell are going pro, and it appears that Golston is also going to go pro. But the fact is, if you look at Michigan State's schedule next year, it is extremely easy. I mean, easy from the standpoint of when you look at the Leaders Division, Ohio State and Wisconsin drop off MSU's schedule, and they pick up Illinois and Purdue. Two teams that obviously are in a rebuilding mode. And the reason why I like Michigan State, even though they are losing some people, is because Mark D'Antonio has proven that he can coach. And he's now been with the program, 7 years, I believe now, or his seventh year next year. But he has all his people in place. He has his system in place, and that's very key. You know, when Hayden Fry was winning a lot of championships and competing at Iowa, I didn't see Iowa among the top 10 or 15 or 20 in recruiting. Occasionally they've got some recruits, don't get me wrong, but I really do think it comes down to coaching. And with their schedule next year, which is extremely easy, except for Notre Dame, they're playing Western Michigan and, you know, the Central Florida Bulls or something like that. I mean, it's and the Youngstown State Penguins. Besides Notre Dame, I think it's like their non-conference schedule. And then they open up Big Ten play with Iowa, Purdue, Illinois, and then their crosstown rival in the Leaders Division, which is Indiana. Before they play Michigan, they host Michigan at home. So I think State could rebound very, very nicely next year. The schedule works for them, and I actually believe in Mark D'Antonio. I think that they're going to run the football. They're going to get some offensive linemen back. I think their defense is always going to be competitive and good. So I think the fortunes for Michigan State, a lot has to do with their schedule next year, means that Michigan State football will rebound and rebound nicely. Now looking at the University of Michigan, I think Michigan's going to be a better football team. What happens to Michigan, however, is that Illinois and Purdue drop off their schedule from the Leaders Division, and they always have Ohio State. That's their cross-division rival, as opposed to State, who has Indiana. But anyway, and Michigan picks up next year Indiana and Penn State. Now, Indiana and Penn State were two teams that were a little bit better than most people thought, and we'll see how this lawsuit plays out for Penn State. And Michigan goes to Happy Valley to play the Nittany Lions, and I believe they host the Hoosiers here. So Michigan's schedule, a little bit more daunting. They're on the road at Connecticut next year. They play, of course, Notre Dame at the night game. They host the Akron Zips, and they start off the season against Central Michigan. And then it's all their other Leaders Division, or Legends, division rivals. These Leader and Legends, man, let's change that, all right? Anyway, I think Michigan will be a better football team because I think their offensive and defensive lines will be better. I would say that Michigan needs a stud running back, and it appears that young kid named Green from Virginia, I don't know if it's Eric Green or not, or I know a lot of Eric Green, so that I must have Eric Green on the mind. But if he commits to Michigan, and there is a picture of him circulating on Twitter of the young back Green in the U.S. Army All-Star game, posing with all the Michigan recruits. And this was a kid that Michigan was never supposed to get. Read into it what you will. Until they commit and they're actually on campus, whether it be Ann Arbor, East Lansing, or Timbuktu, that's when I'll believe all the recruiting hype and all the recruiting news. But fact is that I think Michigan's offensive line was great at pass blocking and horrible at run blocking. And I think that's why Michigan should be better next year. There'll be a young offensive line. I do think Taylor Lewan is probably going to go pro. At this moment, I don't know, but I think he's leaning that way. He did well against Clowney, except for just kind of an abandoning him when Vincent Smith fumbled the ball. But With that said, I think both lines are going to be better. I think Michigan's defense is going to be improved. They get Blake Countess back in the secondary, and I think that there's a 5-star recruit that perhaps could come in and play right away. I'm not really worried about the defense. I think their line play is going to be better. That's what Brady has to stress. I think Devin Gardner or Shane Morris, any way you look at it, I believe the Notre Dame game early on next year for Michigan is key. And I mean, it's key either where Devin Gardner will catapult himself into the Heisman race or it'll be the coming out party for Shane Morris. One or the other. I think Michigan will be hyped up for that game. And who knows, Notre Dame could be the defending national champion in that game. But I do think that I'm giving Michigan's running backs a pass because every time they tried to run the ball this year, except for Denard Robinson, who made things on his own, they were met in the backfield. I mean, they never even had a chance to move. I mean, the guys were right on him. The defensive linemen were already on the Michigan back. So we'll see. We'll see with an improved offensive line where Michigan goes. I think Michigan will be a better team next year. I think they'll compete with Michigan State. But I do believe that a few breaks are going to have to go their way because they're still a relatively young football team. But I do think that the future is also bright for the University of Michigan, especially if they get the young running back Green, who can go even running back by committee. But the key for Michigan will be improved play on their offensive and defensive lines. And that will be the key. And that's why I think both Michigan and Michigan State should be very competitive and very good in football next year. And that game in East Lansing is going to be quite a showdown between the maize and blue and the green and white. Now turning our attention to the Detroit Lions. Martin Mayhew spoke yesterday, or at least allegedly he did, because he only speaks to the beat writers. I guess you can't take a picture of him, which I'm beginning to wonder if there's some sort of supernatural thing going on there. But the Lions were a disappointment at 4-12. I think that their arrogance caught up with them. They didn't think that they were accountable. Sorry, Chris McCoskey, but they didn't. They do whatever they want. They figure that their Lions logs, don't smell, if you catch my drift on that one. And I think you saw the result. The team ran amok. Jim Schwartz lost control of that team. There were various arrests. The Lions were good at everything but being a football team. I think Martin Mayhew tried to take some accountability, but this Javid Best thing was something that was going to come back and haunt them over and over and over and over again. Where will the Lions be next year? Well, they'll have Calvin Johnson. They'll have Matthew Stafford. They'll have Riley Reif. I think that the Lions will continue to be what we see, an up-and-down franchise, until Bill Ford Jr. takes over the team and gives them direction and an edict. With Mayhew being here and with Schwartz being here and the fall guys really being Titus Young Sr., Javid Best, and the three offensive coaches that they let go, the line coach, the receivers coach, and the running backs coach, it shows me that William Clay Ford Sr. is still calling the shots, still has the keys, and is driving the bus, so to speak. So, and if he likes you, and apparently he likes Martin Mayhew. Remember, Martin Mayhew has been here since day one of Matt Millen's regime and has never left. He had an interim label that was taken off after the season ended. I mean, Martin Mayhew, his imprint on the Detroit Lions has been a long imprint. And whether he be the guy or not, if the Lions decided to make a change, and it'd have to really come from Junior, I thought Schwartz and Mayhew should both be gone if they were going to do that. Although, I'm not advocating people losing jobs. I think I've lost jobs. I think you out there have lost jobs. It's not fun. It's not great, regardless if you're an NFL coach or, you're working down at, the corner store or something. But with that said, this is my advice to Martin Mayhew. Defense, and more defense. That's what the Lions have to address. That's what they need. He did say that they needed playmakers on defense, and I agree with him. I truly agree with him. But I'm not so sure that he's going to do it. I don't know if he's still the philosophy of the best player available, or if he thinks the defenders will be out there. And, I think the enabling of Ndamukong Suh is rather frightening, that he was the only player that improved on the defense this year. I actually thought Nick Fairley had a pretty good year when he wasn't hurt. I thought he made actually more plays than Ndamukong Suh. So I don't know what's going on with the Lions' love affair with Ndamukong Suh or the enabling of Ndamukong Suh, but I don't think it's making him a better football player. So, yeah, wrapping up, because I don't want this to go long. I don't know. If the Lions address their needs, which are defensive, if they bring back, Titus Young Sr., and also if Javid Best can play, they have two of the playmakers that Martin Mayhew was lamenting that he didn't have. Titus Young Sr., if his head's on straight, he can make plays. We know Javid Best can when he's healthy. I doubt that either one of those guys, I don't think Best is ever going to play again, unfortunately, and I just don't think Titus Young Sr. has reached an emotional mature level to actually get the job done. But that's really basically my opinion. I'm not a psychologist. Just based on his past behavior, I don't know if that guy is a reclamation project or not for the Detroit Lions. In Dominican Sue, I don't think he's a bad player, but I don't think he's a great player. It was really interesting listening to Martin Mayhew yesterday, or reading accounts of what he had to say when he said he needs playmakers. He needs playmakers. He needs playmakers. Well, once again, he stole the line out of good old Wayno's book. Wayne Fontes. What did Wayne Fontes say over and over again when he was coach of the Detroit Lions? I need players who make plays. Well, I agree with you there, Wayno, and I agree with you, Martin Mayhew. I'm not so sure. I think you're the guy for the job, but you've got another year, you and Jim Schwartz, so good luck to you, although I'm not counting on the Lions to do anything. So, in conclusion, Michigan State football looking good, Detroit Lions football looking typical. Until we meet again, which will be tomorrow with our football picks, playoff edition and the national championship game will be picked tomorrow. Until then, have a safe and pleasant one. I'm Art Regner for Fox Sports Detroit. We'll see you in the Sports Corner real soon. Bye-bye.